Hi there. The purpose of this video is I want to produce a simple, easy to understand set of instructions or summary of Smart 17. To start off with, I want to show you a little bit about the board itself. The panel, some of the things you can do stock with the board right out of the box without using Smart 17. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time looking at, just like I said, a very brief summary version of how to use the software with the board. So if I come over here to the board, the first thing I want to do is talk about the panel itself. You've got the select tool, which looks like this little arrow here. And when you click on the select tool, it allows you to select whatever icons are on the screen. You can click and drag. Works just like if you were clicking on a mouse on your computer. You can also move these things wherever you want to go. You can use it to highlight pictures and delete them. Whatever it is you need, that's your select tool. Over here, you've got your 4 colors for your writing tool. If you start to write on the desktop background of your computer, it will pull up a Smart Ink note, which is just kind of like a Post-it for Smart. Once you X out of it, whatever it is you're typing on or whatever it is you're writing is gone forever and ever and ever. So you can't save Smart Ink notes. They're cool for things like if you want to tell a student to get out page 198 and read over these 3 pages, answer these 3 questions after your test. That's a cool way to use the Smart Ink. The eraser tool is this next button icon on the tray that you can use to erase. You can use 2 fingers at a time to erase if you want. And then finally, you've got the 3 buttons over here on the right. The one on the far right is probably the most important. It's probably the first thing you want to do is calibrate your board. And you can use your finger or your pen to touch in the center of these red plus signs in order to calibrate your board, so that now wherever it is you start to write or erase or select is exactly where the pen is going to be. It won't be a little bit off to the right or to the left. And then you've got this right click button. If I click on this, the next time I click on the screen is going to be the equivalent to a right click. And then everything else will be a left click again. I'd have to hit the button again to do yet another right click. A really cool feature that saves you from having to walk to your computer. And then finally, the keyboard. Some people may find more use of that than others. I also wanted to take the time to show you that if you want to just use PowerPoint or you want to use other applications like watching a video or using a web browser in conjunction with Smart without using the Smart software, you can in fact do this, and you can do it pretty effectively. For example, in this example, I'm showing a PowerPoint I use whenever I teach geography. And if I wanted to edit this PowerPoint using the Smartboard, I could go into presentation mode, and whatever I want to highlight or indicate within my PowerPoint will be saved whenever I hit the save button on this PowerPoint. Likewise, I can move on to different slides, and you know, if I'm talking about Bangladesh, I can draw an arrow over to where Bangladesh is, where I want my students to be able to focus their eyes. And in this particular case, whenever I move on to the next slide, those edits stay, and I can also edit the next slide as well. Once I exit out of presentation mode, you can see over here that those edits that I made by drawing onto the board is automatically there within the PowerPoint, because PowerPoint is treating this like you're using the draw tools within PowerPoint itself. And then when I come up here to save my PowerPoint, and I do save as or whatever it is I need to do to save it, what it does is it remembers my edits. So if I save into OneDrive and then I provide a link for my students, whenever they download this file, they'll be able to download all those drawings as well, and edits and words that I write, so that they can follow along with what it is that I'm teaching from one day to the next. So if they are absent, they can see how I've marked up my PowerPoint. I think that's a pretty powerful tool, even without using Smart Notebook 17. If I'm within a browser and I'm looking at my class website on Schoology, for example, I can show my students certain things within the course itself and highlight those things and mark right on the browser. And so anytime that I flip from one tool or one browser tab to the next, you can see that the edits remain in this browser tab. So that's another cool way that you can use the Smartboard to interact with your students during a presentation or during teaching and instruction. Despite all these cool features with the Smartboard and PowerPoint and when you're watching videos and when you're in the web browser, in order to get the full effect and the best potential out of your Smartboard, the number one thing you can do is use the Smart Notebook 17. So once I double click on the Smartboard 17 software icon on my desktop and open up the program, this right here is what you're gonna get. It looks very much kind of like a blank PowerPoint. You've got your field where you can write and do all your presentation, and then over here you've got what appears to be your slides. So what I'm gonna do for this simple summary rundown presentation of Smart is I'm gonna look over the top menu as you see here. I'm gonna look over these side menu items as well. And then I'm going to cover a few things in the menus, starting with File and going on to Help, that may not be explicitly reachable within the menus up here at the top. So this is how we're going to look. One thing I will not be spending time on this presentation talking about is the Smart Response and Smart Labs. And there's a reason for that. Maybe in a later video we'll address those things. But what I want to do for now is, starting right here, I want to show you that if I hit this green page button, what it does is it will add in different slides that I can add to my presentation. If I want to hit the red X on the page, I can take them away. Specifically, what happens is whichever slide I'm highlighting, you can see that I've highlighted slide 3 out of 5, and that's the one that is going to disappear if I hit the X. I can also hit the undo button and bring it back. All right, I can hit the redo button and erase it again if I need to. This right here allows me to open a presentation I've already done in Smart Notebook. This allows me to save the work that I'm currently working on. Now, one cool thing about Smart is if I don't want to have to walk over to my computer in order to disable this, I can hit the pin button and tap in this file name field, and I can write a name for the file. In this case, I'm going to call it sample 6, and then I'm going to hit save, and there we go, without having to go to my computer. Next, you've got the this tool here will hide certain elements of your presentation. Let me show you how that works. So if I go up here to open, all right, it's going to ask me to save again. I can open up a sample project that I've already been working on. And so what I'm able to do, and I'll just look on this one here, is if I want my students to only be able to see the top portion of the presentation, then, and maybe a better way, maybe there's a better slide. Maybe if I use this one right here, you can see what I mean. I can allow students to see just a part at a time of the presentation rather than the whole thing at once. So this way you can have students make sure they're paying attention to you, they're not getting ahead, and they're understanding and learning everything as you're teaching it. If you want this gone, you can hit the X button. Or you can put it on any slide you want simply by hitting that button right there on the toolbar. This allows you to add a table. I don't know really why you'd want to add a table into a Smart presentation, but you can if you want to. If you added a table into the presentation and you don't know why it's there and you don't want it there, if you click on the little arrow button right here in the corner, you can delete it right out, just like that. Same for these math tools. You have a ruler, you have a compass, all right? These things are somewhat interactive as well. I mean, you can change the angles of them, all right? I'm not a math guy, so I teach geography, not math. I want these things out. So once again, oh goodness, once again, I'm going to click on the little arrow and I'm going to delete it out. I'm going to click on the arrow and delete. I'm going to click on the arrow and delete. What this button here does is it enables you to toggle the view. Now, if you're giving a presentation and you're teaching, you might want to have a full screen so that students can see the whole thing. Plus, it gives you more to work with. And so if you do this, you have this little bar thing at the bottom. You can move it wherever you want it, and you're able to switch between slides all right, by hitting the arrows back and forth. If you wanted to undo this view, you can simply hit the screen button, or you can hit the X in order to go back to your regular view where you have all the menu items on the top and on the side. And if you look at this dual page display, that's a really powerful tool in here that allows you to write notes on one side and while allowing students to see the notes you just got done writing on the one side. So let me show you what that looks like. You can also full screen this, okay? And so if I'm writing notes, all right, and I'm just writing notes. We always have some of those students that might be slow note takers that can't keep up. Now, whenever I flip to the next page, my old notes are there, and I can write new notes here on this slide, all right? And then move on and do the same thing. This right here frees up half your board to be able to be seen by students who might not be able to keep up with you when you're standing in front of the board writing on it. Another thing that's very important is if I wanted to make it so that, let's say I've got a map that I want my students to be able to see and refer to. That's really not a good one. Let's do this one. Let's do this one right here, Hurricane Katrina. Let's say that I want my students to be able to focus on this map here, and it has to do with the other things that I'm talking about throughout my presentation. I can pin this to the dual screen so that it never changes. And so all I have to do is highlight this slide and then come up here to view, and then where it says dual page, I can hit pin page, and now you can see the pins, which means that whenever I flip the page over here, it's going to leave that particular slide so that my students can see it throughout my presentation. If I want to undo that, I simply go to View, Dual Screen Display, and then hit the Pin Page button again. That gets rid of the pin on the page. So now both pages will flip as I move throughout the presentation. And finally, if I want to end my dual page display, I can click on the display button again and do single page display and end that. All right. Keep in mind again, like I said, that dual page display can also be done in full screen mode so that students can see the whole screen, and you can use the whole screen for your teaching presentation. All right, so moving on, this button here allows you to use add-ons. Not all the add-ons are going to appear there, but these here seem to be very, very useful math add-ons. You've got your GeoGebra, you've got your insert equations, so you're able to type in equations here. If there might be something here that's missing, you can actually write in your equation by hitting the one down here. It allows you to actually write your equation in. I'm not a mathematician, I know no equations, so I'm just going to leave that one there for you guys to experiment with. Finally, that brings me over here to the tools, and whatever it is you click on here is a different tool. Once you click on it, you get menu items over this way to help you to enhance the use of that tool in your presentation. Basically, these tools are somewhat of an extension of what's on the tray. You just have way more options whenever you're using the tools within Smart Notebooks. So if I go to the pen, you can see that there are certain different types of pens you can choose from. And this right here is the same run-of-the-mill pen you have on the tray, except now you can customize it with different colors and effects. Okay, and I'll go ahead and erase that out. Let's say that you have a map or a presentation that you've spent a lot of time on, maybe a graph. You're a math teacher, you might have spent a lot of time creating a graph that shows slope or whatever else you want to do, and you don't feel like erasing that because you might erase part of your actual presentation that you need for all your classes down the line. Well, one thing you can do is you can use the pen tool and use the magic pen, and what it will do is what happens is with the magic pen tool, whatever it is you write will erase within a few seconds. You can adjust how long it lasts by once you've selected the magic pen, you can come over to this side menu, which normally is over here. Okay, you can select this, which gives you more options, and once you hit the fill effects, you can adjust the duration of the magic pen. So let's say you want 6 seconds instead of 12. Now it's only going to last for 6 seconds whenever I write with it over this way. Pretty cool tool if you don't want to mess up the stuff that you spend a lot of time working on. Next, you've got your shapes. I'm going to insert a new page, and you can draw different shapes like a heart. You can draw circles, ovals, triangles. Once you create a shape, you cannot erase it out. You have to use the select tool to highlight it or tap it, and then you can either delete it here, all right, or if it's easier, you can just hit the X. But you have to select the tool first in order to do that. Then, if you want to change the color of whatever shape or whatever picture or image that you have, you can hit the fill button, and then you can turn that color to whatever you want. You can also make it somewhat transparent if you want, maybe a little too transparent, if you want it to be somewhat see-through in your presentation. If I want to be able to show a certain phenomenon within a map, such as a certain region, or if I want to highlight a certain place, or whatever it might be for a non-geography class, you can use the line tool to do this. And it might look a little bit better than using your hand. All right? It points a straight line to whatever it is you want to highlight in your presentation. In addition to the line tool, something else you could do with the pencil or pen is if you select that and hit this for more options, you can change the end of it or the end of it to an arrow, and you can maybe have a dotted line here and change the color to whatever it is you want it to be. All right? And then whenever you go to write, you could use different types of effects like this in order to highlight where something is or how something might work, or some kind of a migration phenomenon in this case. So that's a pretty decent summary of the tools at the top of the board. What I want to do now is I want to spend a little bit of time looking at the menu items on the left side of the board, starting with the top. And I've already taken the time to show this. This is your slide presentation view, so it just shows the orders and sequence of your presentation. You're able to move the slides around however you see fit, all right, to wherever you want, and you can add and take away slides here. So we've already kind of covered that. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple stuff. If I click on this little, looks like a picture icon, what it does is it pulls me up to the gallery and all the pictures and folders and 3D objects that Smart has for you to use free of charge. You can do a simple search. In this case, I searched for Earth, and when I do that, it shows 135 items related to the Earth, and some of those are pictures. I can take a picture of the layers of the Earth and bring it into my presentation. All right, I'll use the select tool to move it wherever I want it to be. You can make it bigger or smaller by grabbing this bottom right dot in the corner. You can expand the size. I also have a few really cool 3D objects that I can use to help my students understand how the Earth is layered into the core, mantle, and crust. And so you can see that it goes through a little demonstration that's kind of like a GIF in a way. And you can change the degrees of that so that students are able to see it from a top view. You can also change the angle or the degrees in this way as well, so that students can see it from a different angle. In biology, you've got cell structure you can look at like this, and just you take the time in your content to look through this. I'm sure there's something for you. Another really helpful element of this icon here is if you go to Smart Exchange, you can click on this website, which will pull up the internet and will enable you to find other types of presentations that have already been created for you that you can download for free. So if I click on geography here, it's going to bring up a bunch of geography slides, and you can see here that you've got a Jeopardy. A lot of people can play Jeopardy, not just geography classes. So if I download here, it will download and I can open up Jeopardy. I've already downloaded one Jeopardy earlier today, which I think was pretty good. It wasn't the same one as what you see here, but I mean, it works, right? So you've got your Jeopardy screen. If I go to category 5 for 100, you can see that I've already taken the time to edit the question, was the capital of Colorado. You're able to move the box out of the way to reveal the answer. When you're done, you hit back to the main screen. And again, remember, you can full screen this so that your students are able to see all portions of the game at once. So this is already made for you. All you gotta do is go in and change the questions and make it your own. You can save it then, and you can save a unit 1, a unit 2, a unit 3. Just keep this as the free template provided to you by Smart Notebook. Right? So I'm gonna go ahead and end this presentation and go back to my original presentation and move on. This icon here allows you to add images, or I guess to add any kind of file. You can add images, PowerPoints, PDFs, you can add videos, whatever it is you want to add. Simply go to Insert. You can either put a hyperlink or you can insert a file from your computer. And you can even do other Smart Notebook files. I'm going to insert this picture of a pencil, right? And now if I wanted to, I could link something to that pencil or to any presentation. So if I want to make it so that anyone I share this with, or so that me, whenever I'm presenting this presentation, if I can access one of these files, I can do it in a really cool way here. If I hit this little arrow again in the image or in any item within my presentation, I can go to link, and from here I'm able to link to a web page. I'm able to link to another page in the presentation. I'm able to link to another file on the computer, or in this case, what I'm going to show you is that I can link it to one of the files I've inserted into my presentation. And now, also, you want to hit this button for object if you were me, because the corner icon is really hard to see, and often you get confused trying to find out why the link isn't working. If you hit the object, then whenever you click on or tap on the whole object, it will pull up your file. If I hit OK and now I tap on my picture, it's actually going to pull up my original PowerPoint so that I could show a portion of that, or so that teachers who have my Smart presentation can access the file and see the original copy. Once you get to this is, like I said earlier, these are advanced features for the tools. So whichever tool you choose, it's going to change what you're seeing over here once you tap on that. And so you can play around with this and see the extent of the effects you can add to the tools, but this is for like a heightened version of the effects that you would have up here for your tools. Finally, when you click on the add-on button on the side, you see other add-ons that may not be included up here, such as the YouTube video. So if I wanted to embed a video into one of the slides in my presentation, I could do a search over here, and let's say that I wanted to, I don't know if it's going to let me do it from here. For some reason, whenever I'm trying to do a search from my board, it doesn't really work for me like that. So I could go to my computer and search for the demographic transition model, Professor Dustin, and pull up one of my own videos and put it in here, or I could pull up videos from other creators and put it into my presentation as well. And I have already done this, so I will show you what it looks like. This right here is my demographic transition model video from my YouTube channel, and once I put it in, it works kind of like everything else, all right? So it gives you the ability to, would help if I was on my select tool, to highlight it. I can duplicate it or clone it if I wanted to and make two. I can copy it and paste it to other slides if I wanted to. Okay, so I can right click and then paste, and now I've got it on another slide. I can make it full screen. Okay, I can even write on it. So if I get to a portion within my video where I want to spend a little bit of time talking about
below per thousand people,
talking about the
rate of natural increase birth rate, more or less.
So if I want to talk about the actual demographic transition model myself, I can take my pen tools and I can highlight certain facets from right there in the video to make it make sense to my students. So that's a really cool way to use videos within your Smartboard presentation. And another thing you can do here is you can insert images from the web, right straight from the internet. The cool thing here is that the images that are going to appear when you do a search are going to be Creative Commons images, so that in theory you're not taking anything that you need to provide links. You're not taking copyright material. You're using stuff that you could share. So if you go and you have this jam up presentation that you want to share it at like an ed tech conference, all you got to do is make sure that you're using images from here, and you shouldn't get yourself in any big trouble for sharing out the file. Speaking of which, the way you share your presentations is you go to the File tab at the top, and then you click on the Share button here. And it will ask you to sign in. So if you haven't created a Smart account, that's very, very easy to create. Another way you can do this is by clicking on Account up here and sign in. It enables you to sign. It pulls up the browser, it lets you sign in. I'm going to sign in real quick, and then I'm going to show you the rest of the presentation. So now that I've signed in, I'll finish showing you how to share your presentation. So you click on File, and then you click on Share, and it will allow you to use any of these share options. Probably the easiest way is to share using a link. And what it does is it uploads your file to the Smart Cloud, which then gives you a link that you're able to copy and paste and put into an email to send out to anyone who attends your conference, or to whoever it is that works in your PLC that you want to be able to share this with. Edit, there's nothing really super new and revolutionary in the edit menu that we haven't already looked up up here. For view, remember that in order to do the page display and the pin to page, you must go through the view. Other than that, most of these options we've already looked at on the top toolbar. For insert, one thing that I wanted to show you that we haven't seen yet is how to insert a picture onto your presentation from your own computer, so your own pictures, not the internet. So let's say that I wanted to insert a picture of an eraser, and also let's say that I wanted to insert a picture of a pencil. So now I've got a pencil and an eraser. You might think, what in the world is he doing? I want to show you a really cool thing you can do. If you click on the arrow on any picture, it doesn't have to be a pencil or eraser, but I just use that because it makes sense. You can link to tool, and you can link. This is an eraser, so you can link it to the eraser tool. This is a pencil, so you can link it to the pen tool. All right. And now, whenever you click on this picture, it's going to open up the pen. Whenever you click on this picture, it will open up your eraser. And this right here might be cool and practical if you have a couple of students working on the board trying to answer questions, or if you have students coming up to the board to circle the right answer and you want them to have quick access to the pen and quick access to the eraser, so that they're not fumbling around over here on the panel. Especially for elementary school, this might work out really well. Go ahead. And then the tools are all the same tools that are up here. Add-ons, we've already talked about, account and help. One thing you haven't seen me talk a whole lot about is the Smart Response and the Smart Labs features. And part of that is because that is associated with only a premium account with Smart. And so if you don't have a premium account, and I'm just doing a simple summary version of the demonstration of the software, I'm not going to spend time in this video looking at that. Maybe we have grounds to do a different video later on in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time on Professor Justin.